Hi. Hi, I'm Tony Castelli. This is the meningitis primer to getting Social Security disability benefits for the meningitis Facebook website. Terry Lewis, who has gone above and beyond the call of duty, has really been in the forefront here and asked me to uh, put something out. I do Social Security work. I'm based in Cincinnati. I'm an attorney. I do personal injury. But anyway, what you need to know about Social Security is that you must be able to prove that you cannot do any work at all that exists in the national economy in significant numbers, and the durational requirement is 1 full year. So that's the simple thing. There's not partial disability in the sense that if you're disabled and can't work for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, it needs to be 365 days. And so maybe you've been disabled and not working for 3 months. If it looks like you're not going to be able to work for a year, you need to file. Okay, how do you file? One of the easiest ways to do it is to go to socialsecurity.gov and do it online, or you can call their 800 number, 1-800-772-1213. Tell them you want to file for Social Security disability, uh, and they will send you the forms. You fill out the forms, and I would make an appointment with your local Social Security office to bring the forms in and finish the process out. You know they've gotten delivered. Now, if you get denied within 3 to 6 months, don't hang your head and give up. Only 30% of people that file are allowed on the initial filing, and it's a good other 30 or 40% that get allowed down the road. So if you get denied, the best thing you can do for yourself is get yourself to an experienced Social Security disability attorney. I would get someone in your area that's going to meet with you. There's national law firms that do this. You won't even meet them until the day of your hearing. So the way the process works is you file your application, maybe you get allowed, but more than likely you're going to get denied. You can file for a reconsideration, or I would go get an attorney. You only got 60 days to do that. So get your attorney, they'll file for a reconsideration. That's pretty much a rubber stamp denial within 3 to 6 months. Then they file an appeal and request a hearing in front of an administrative law judge. That's where you're going to get your most fair hearing. It's going to take at least a year and a half from start to hearing. The judge will give you about an hour-long hearing, and they will write a decision. And if it's favorable, great. If not, uh, and you still have credits. By credits, I mean if you've paid into the system and you've worked 5 out of the last 10 years, you are buying Social Security disability benefits. Social Security disability is the insurance that you paid. If you do not have enough credits, then you can still get SSI, which is supplemental security income. You still have to prove you're disabled for 1 full year, and then you have to show there's economic need. So if you're married and your husband's making a lot of money, or your spouse is making a lot of money, or you sitting a lot of money in a bank account, you probably can't get SSI. But if you've paid into the system, and if you've worked 5 out of the last 10, so maybe you've worked up to the last 6 months, or maybe even 2 years ago you stopped working. Your date last insured, you have 5 years usually from when you stopped working if you work consistently for 5 years. There is basically what Social Security calls a 5-step evaluation process for you to go through. They just tick this off. Uh, the first step is, are you still working and making substantial gainful activity? That's $100,000 gross a month. So if your disability has allowed you to just work a few hours and make a little bit of money, you still could file for Social Security disability. Uh, but if you're working and you're making over $1,000 gross a month, generally as a employee, you're not going to be able to get Social Security disability, obviously. It is for people who can't work. The second step then is, do you have a medically determinable impairment that's severe? And it doesn't have to, severe means is it affecting basic work activities such as thinking, standing, walking, lifting, talking, those kind of things. So if there is some impact on those, it is going to be determined as severe disability. That's usually not the problem. The next step is, do you meet or equal listing of impairments? So uh, there's no listing for meningitis, and think of a listing as sort of a pigeonhole. Do you fit into this pigeonhole? And one of the things that you might have uh, as a result of uh, epidural steroids, as a result of your back problem, or as a result of the fungal bacteria, is arachnoiditis. And there's a listing for disorders of the spine. Uh, and there's an actual listing for spinal arachnoiditis. And what they say about that is it's confirmed by an operative note or pathology report of tissue biopsy or by appropriate medically acceptable imaging. So you have to have some test that confirms that, manifested by severe burning or painful dysesthesia, resulting in the need for changes in position or posture more than once every 2 hours. So if you meet a listing, and there's also a listing for uh, major dysfunction of a joint due to any cause, uh, involvement of one major peripheral weight-bearing joint, hip, knee, or ankle, resulting in an inability to ambulate effectively. They give a definition of what that is. Uh, there's also herniated nucleus pulposus, uh, evidence of nerve root compression characterized by neuroanatomic distribution of pain, limitation of motion of the spine, motor loss, atrophy with associated muscle weakness accompanied by sensory or reflex loss, and if there is involvement of the lower back, positive straight leg raising test. So if you meet or equal the listing, uh, meet means you have the same symptoms. Equivalency is that maybe your symptoms are a little bit different, but they are just as severe. You need to send that listing to your doctor. And so that would cut out, if you meet or equal a listing, you're going to be found disabled as long as you aren't working. If you don't meet a listing, and that is often the case, do you have the capacity and the ability to do your past relevant work that you performed within the last 15 years? So if you can do your past relevant work, then you're not going to be found disabled. And if they find that you can't, then the burden switches to the government, and here it must be determined whether the person applying for Social Security benefits can do other work on a sustained basis, considering their functional capacity, their age, education, and work experience.